With Michelle Taylor with Precious Encounters Photography. Today we'll be editing this sweet little image. The first thing I do is bring it into Lightroom and make some minor adjustments before I bring it into Photoshop. So this one, I had enabled the profile corrections and the remove chromatic aberration. I do this with all my images, bringing them into Lightroom. And then of course, I also make sure that my white balance is correct, which I did use my gray card to do that with over here. So I always photograph my gray cards and I check my white balance in post. I don't always trust my camera. So now we'll go ahead and take this sweet little image into Photoshop. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is bring up the lights a little bit, and I use LSP Signature Newborn Actions. And I'm going to bring down the opacity to around 15%. And then I'm going to flatten. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on her reds on her face. And there's an action from Paintbox, Erin Toll, and I love her little red action for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a soft brush. After it's completed, I'm going to make sure my brush is on a soft brush. And I'm going to drop my opacity down to about 20%, and my flow is right around 84%. And I'm just going to lightly start brushing that on. Just like so. Okay, I think I'm happy with where that says. And as you can see, that's the before and then after, and I'm going to flatten that. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to grab my healing brush tool, my spot healing brush tool, and I'm just going to clean up some areas to help blend it with her skin. And I know it looks a little purple now, so then I'll also go in using the LSP Signature for toning action. And I'm going to click Go Away Purple. I'm going to do this again at 20% and just lightly brush it on. And this just helps blend her skin tone better. Alright, let's take a look back. Before, after. And then I'm going to flatten. So then I'm going to go to Pro Retouch by Totally Rad. And I'm going to run the foundation strong. get my soft brush, 50%, 20% around the hairline, back at 50%, and I'm going to do the rest of her face, avoiding the details. Next, I'm going to run the Magic Eraser. .50%, and I'm going, let's do 30%, because I want to clean up some of the milk dots, bumps up here, and down around her nose. I would rather start at a low opacity and build up rather than doing a high opacity and it being too strong. There we go. A little bit down here. You can see the before and after. Oh, that's perfect. Now I'm going to flatten. Then I'm going to come down and run Complete Baby Quick Fix Workflow from LSP. I like this because it has a lot of different steps in one action. So the first thing I'm going to do is cheeks and lips at 50%. I'm going to drop that down just a little bit. Then I'm going to do my reduced reds. Just a little bit of red. Not too bad. Warm skin tone. I love this. I do this between 50 and 60% opacity. And I just brush it on her skin. And it gives her this beautiful glow. Before and after. And then I always bring back the details at 100%. And then I use the Brighten Up. This is where I paint on the light to her skin. Brighten areas that I want more light to be, to create the depth. And then darken areas. Down by your nose. They also have this amazing Paint Away the Shine, but she doesn't really have any shine to paint away. So before and after. I'm going to reduce my cheeks a little bit more. It's a little too much red for me. And then I'm going to flatten. Then I'm going to run Portraiture. I have an action that I created. I bumped up the warmth and bumped up the brightness. I'm going to drop the opacity to around 60%, and then I'm going to get my black brush and I'm going to paint off some areas at 100%. We don't like to use portraiture on the details of a baby. You want to paint that off. Just like so. I'm going to flatten that. And then I have an action called Image Enhance that I've created. You see the before And then after, it gives us this nice warm tone to it. And then I'm going to add a bit of contrast that I also have. And I'm going to bring that down to about 20%. So you can see the before and the after. And I'm going to flatten. And clean up her face just a little bit more with my healing brush tool. Then I'm going to do a selection, which is Q Q on your keyboard. And I'm going to check her tones of her face. Flatten that. And now I'm going to do a vibrance. This is to taste. I think I like it about 40%, and I'm going to brush it off of her at 50%. I like her skin to be a little bit more creamy and not so yellow. And then my friend makes this action called Arctic White. That's just an overall color toning to your image. See the before and the after. To me, that's a little too much, so I'm going to drop down the opacity. And I'm happy with it right around 66%. And I'll flatten. I'm going to fix this little thing with the healing brush tool. Take a look around, make sure everything's cleaned up. Everything looks good on her face. So here's what we started with, and this is where we ended. And then you could also, if you wanted to play a little more, by using, I use Paintbox by Erin Toll. I'm going to pick a color. And over here, I like it a little darker. If you want a baby to be more focused, you could do that, but I kind of really like the flowers showing. So I'm going to drop the opacity down, and then it just gives them a little bit of a blur. Make sure it's completely off baby. You don't want it on her skin. Her feet are fine, but I don't want it on her face. There, I'm happy with that. Flatten it, save it, and we're good to go. Thanks for joining me.